The email that changed everything. It arrived at 6:47 a.m. No subject line. Just 3 sentences from HR that would unravel 11 years of my life. Effective immediately, your annual compensation will be adjusted to $58,000. This reflects current market rates for your role. Please acknowledge receipt by end of business today. I read it 3 times. My hands didn't shake. My coffee didn't spill. I just sat there in my kitchen, watching the sunrise through my apartment window, doing the math. $175,000 to $58,000. A 67% pay cut. Not a typo. Not a mistake. They meant it. I was Marcus Chun, lead AI architect at Neural Flow Technologies. Or at least, I had been. For 11 years, I built their entire infrastructure from scratch. Every algorithm, every database, every integration that allowed their platform to process 3.2 million transactions daily. The platform that generated $200 million in annual revenue. And they just cut my salary by 67%. I closed my laptop, took a sip of coffee, and smiled, because they had just made the biggest mistake of their corporate lives. 11 years in the shadows. Let me take you back to 2014. Neural Flow was 3 guys in a co-working space in Austin. The CEO, Brandon Hastings, had an idea. Use machine learning to predict customer behavior in real time for e-commerce platforms. Revolutionary concept. Zero execution capability. I was employee number 4. Fresh out of MIT with a master's in computer science and $127,000 in student debt. They offered me $62,000 a year and 0.5% equity. I took it, not because the money was good, but because Brandon sold me on the vision. Marcus, he said, gripping my shoulder like we were brothers, you're going to build something that changes the world. And when we IPO, you're going to be a millionaire. I believed him. For the first 3 years, I lived in the office. Literally, I had a sleeping bag under my desk. I showered at the gym down the street. I ate ramen and worked 90-hour weeks writing the code that would become Neural Flow's core AI engine. By 2017, we had our first major client, a retail chain with 2,000 stores. The contract was worth $8 million. Brandon closed the deal, but I made it work. Every night for 6 months, I debugged, optimized, and rebuilt our system until it could handle their traffic. When the client renewed for $15 million, Brandon took the team to Vegas. I stayed behind to patch a security vulnerability I'd found at 2 a.m. By 2020, we had 47 enterprise clients. Our platform was processing real-time data for everyone from Target to Delta Airlines. Revenue hit $95 million. My salary? $98,000. We're still in growth mode. Marcus, Brandon explained over beers one night. Once we hit $150 million, we'll make this right. I promise. I believed him again. In 2023, we crossed $200 million in revenue. I finally got bumped to $175,000. No equity increase. No bonus. Just a bump that barely covered Austin's skyrocketing cost of living. But I stayed, because I had built something extraordinary. The AI system I created wasn't just code, it was art. It predicted customer behavior with 94.7% accuracy. It processed terabytes of data in milliseconds. Fortune 500 companies fought for our contracts. And I was the only person on earth who truly understood how it worked. The golden boy arrives. His name was Tyler Hastings, Brandon's nephew, 26 years old with an MBA from a school I'd never heard of and absolutely zero technical experience. Brandon announced Tyler's arrival at our Monday all-hands in January 2025. Team, I want you to meet our new VP of Technology Strategy. Tyler's going to help us scale to the next level. He's brilliant, he's hungry, and he's family. Tyler wore a Patagonia vest over a button-down. He had perfect teeth and talked about synergies and vertical integration without ever saying anything of substance. Within 2 weeks, he was in every meeting. Within a month, he was making decisions about architecture, my architecture, without consulting me. Marcus, we need to move faster, Tyler said in one meeting, pointing at my carefully designed rollout plan. Why can't we just deploy this update to all clients at once? Because if there's a bug, it could crash systems for 47 clients simultaneously, I replied calmly. We do staged rollouts to minimize risk. He smiled condescendingly. I think you're being too conservative. We need to move at startup speed. We've been a startup for 11 years. We had $200 million in revenue. But I didn't argue. I just nodded and continued doing things the right way. Then in March, Tyler presented his vision for Neural Flow 2.0 to the board. I sat in the back of the conference room, watching him use my slides, my data, my 3 years of research, all presented as his original thinking. The board loved it. Brandon beamed with pride. I said nothing, just took notes, and started documenting everything. The architecture of control. Here's what they didn't understand about the system I built. It wasn't just code. It was an ecosystem designed around one central principle, that I would always be the one maintaining it. Over 11 years, I had built in layers of complexity that made perfect sense to me and were nearly incomprehensible to anyone else. Not maliciously, it was just how my brain worked. I documented everything, but the documentation required understanding my architecture philosophy. The core AI engine used a proprietary neural network design I developed based on my MIT thesis. No one else had access to the original research. The version in our GitHub was functional but incomplete, missing the optimization algorithms that made it actually scalable. Those algorithms lived in a private repository only I could access. Then there were the client relationships. I wasn't just the architect. I was the designated point of contact for every Fortune 500 CTO we served. They had my cell number. They trusted me. When their systems had issues at 3 a.m., they called me, not our support team. Our biggest client, a retail giant responsible for $67 million of our annual revenue, had a clause in their contract. Marcus Chin must remain the technical lead for the duration of this agreement. Their CTO, Helen Park, had specifically requested that clause after I saved their Black Friday systems from a catastrophic failure in 2021. She trusted me, not Neural Flow. Me. I also held the master credentials for every critical system. Yes, there were backup admin accounts. But certain deployment pipelines, certain database clusters, certain API keys, they were tied to my personal authentication. This wasn't intentional sabotage. It was just how we'd grown. In the early days, I was the only engineer. As we scaled, I delegated, but I always remained the root administrator because I was the only one who understood the full system architecture. And finally, most importantly, I had documentation. Every email where I warned about technical debt, every Slack message where I flagged security risks that were ignored, every meeting where Tyler overrode my recommendations. I had screenshots. I had timestamps. I had a paper trail that showed exactly who built this company and who was taking credit for it. I kept it all in an encrypted folder on my personal laptop, just in case. The morning of the massacre, the morning I got the pay cut email, I didn't panic. I went through my usual routine. Shower, coffee, toast. I even went to the gym. At 9:15 a.m., I walked into the office, said hello to the receptionist, made small talk about the weather, grabbed my second coffee from the kitchen. At 9:47 a.m., Brandon called me into his office. Tyler was there too, sitting in the chair next to Brandon's desk like they were co-conspirators. "Marcus, take a seat," Brandon said. His voice had that fake warmth that CEOs use when they're about to destroy your life. I sat. "I assume you got the email from HR." "I did." "Good. So, here's the situation. We're restructuring the technical team. Tyler's taking on a more hands-on role with the engineering side of things. We need to realign compensation to match current market rates for your adjusted responsibilities." Adjusted responsibilities. Translation: Tyler gets credit, you get demoted. "I see," I said calmly. "And what exactly are my new responsibilities?" Tyler leaned forward. "You'll be focusing on maintenance and documentation. Legacy system support. We're bringing in a new team to handle innovation. Maintenance. After 11 years of building their empire, I was being demoted to janitor. And if I don't accept?" I asked. Brandon's smile vanished. "Then we'll have to part ways. We value everything you've done, Marcus, but we need team players who can adapt to change." I looked at Brandon, then at Tyler, then back at Brandon, and I smiled. "I understand completely," I said. "I'll need 48 hours to transition my work properly." Brandon looked relieved. "Great. We knew you'd be professional about this." I stood up, shook both their hands, and walked out of that office knowing exactly what I was about to do. The blueprint they never saw. I spent the next 6 hours looking busy, answering emails, reviewing code, acting like everything was normal. But what I was really doing was executing a plan I'd been mentally preparing for years. First, I created a comprehensive handoff document. 63 pages of detailed technical documentation. Every system, every dependency, every critical process. It was perfect, thorough, professional, and completely useless without me. The documentation explained what systems did, but not how they worked together. It listed dependencies, but not the undocumented workarounds I'd built to make them function. It provided access credentials, but not the context needed to use them safely. I sent it to Tyler with a polite email. Here's everything you need to maintain operations. Let me know if you have questions. He replied within minutes. Thanks, Marcus. This is great. We've got it from here. He didn't even read it. Next, I made 3 critical phone calls to our biggest clients. Not to sabotage anything, just friendly check-ins. Letting them know I was transitioning to a new role. Making sure they had my personal contact information just in case. Helen Park at our $67 million client asked directly, Marcus, are you leaving NeuralFlow? My role is changing, I said carefully. But I wanted you to know I'm always available if you need me. There was a long pause. Marcus, our contract specifically names you as technical lead. If you're not in that role anymore, we need to discuss our agreement. I understand, I said. You should probably bring that up with Brandon. Finally, at 6:47 p.m., exactly 12 hours after receiving my pay cut email, I copied my entire encrypted documentation folder to a personal hard drive. All my evidence, all my proof, 11 years of receipts. Then I did something that would change everything. I submitted my resignation. Effective immediately. Silent withdrawal. I didn't make a scene. Didn't send a company-wide email. Didn't post anything on LinkedIn. I just sent a 2-sentence email to Brandon and HR at 6:52 p.m. After consideration, I've decided to resign from NeuralFlow Technologies effective immediately. Thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the company's success. I packed my desk in 17 minutes. A framed photo of my parents. My lucky coffee mug. A few notebooks. That was it. I walked out of the office at 7:14 p.m. The same office where I'd spent 90-hour weeks for 11 years. Where I'd slept under my desk. Where I'd built an empire for someone else. I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just cold, mathematical clarity. I went home. Ordered Thai food. Watched them slowly realize what they'd done. Because here's what happens when the person who built your entire technical infrastructure walks out the door. Nothing. At first. Systems I'd built to be resilient continued running perfectly. Automated processes executed flawlessly. To an outside observer, everything looked normal. But technical systems are like sharks. They die if they stop moving. And nobody at NeuralFlow understood how to keep things moving. The first crack appeared at 11:23 p.m. that night. A routine database maintenance script, one I'd written 5 years ago, attempted to run its nightly optimization. But it required manual approval from an administrator account. My administrator account. The script failed. An alert was sent to my work email, which I no longer had access to. The optimization didn't run, and database performance started degrading. Slowly, imperceptibly, like a pressure building behind a dam. When the lights went out, day 2, 6:47 a.m., I was having coffee on my balcony when my personal phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. Marcus, it's Tyler. Getting some weird errors this morning. Can you jump on a quick call? I deleted the message. Poured another cup of coffee. At 7:15 a.m., our platform started throwing errors. Nothing catastrophic, just minor glitches. API timeouts. Slow response times. The kind of thing that usually gets fixed quickly, if you know what you're doing. By 9 a.m., Tyler had assembled the engineering team for an emergency meeting. I knew this because one of the junior developers, a kid named Jordan who I'd mentored, sent me a panicked text. Dude, Tyler is freaking out. Systems are acting weird and nobody knows what to do. Did you really quit? I replied, yeah, good luck. At 11:34 a.m., 3 major clients reported performance issues. Response times were degrading. Predictions were less accurate. Nothing broken, just noticeably worse. Tyler tried to fix it. He deployed a hotfix that made everything worse. Much worse. By 2:47 p.m., the entire platform was in crisis mode. Error rates spiked to 23%. Client dashboards were showing incorrect data. The AI predictions were completely unreliable. And then, at 3:15 p.m., the dam broke. The core AI engine crashed. Every single client system went dark simultaneously. 47 Fortune 500 companies. $200 million in annual revenue. processing 3.2 million transactions daily, all offline. I was at the gym when it happened. I saw the news alerts on my phone, watched my LinkedIn blow up with messages, saw former colleagues posting cryptic status updates about major technical issues. I finished my workout, took a shower, went home to wait. The 47 missed calls. My phone started ringing at 3:23 p.m. Brandon. I let it go to voicemail. He called again at 3:24, 3:26, 3:29. I silenced my phone and made dinner. By 5 p.m., I had 47 missed calls. Brandon, Tyler, the CTO, HR, even the CFO, plus 73 text messages begging me to call back. At 6:47 p.m., exactly 48 hours after they cut my salary, I finally answered. Marcus. Thank God. Brandon's voice was ragged. We need you. Everything's down. Clients are threatening to sue. We need you back immediately. I see, I said calmly. That sounds serious. Marcus, please. We'll fix the salary thing. We'll give you whatever you want. Just help us get the systems back online. Whatever I want. I repeated. Yes. Name your price. I let the silence hang for a moment. Then I said, I'm a consultant now, Brandon. My emergency response rate is $500 per hour. Minimum 40 hours. Payable in advance. Done. I'll have accounting wire it right now. And Brandon, I want it in writing that Tyler is removed from any technical oversight role. Permanently. There was a pause. Marcus, he's my nephew. Then good luck fixing this yourself. I hear your biggest client is already talking to your competitors. Another pause. Longer this time. Fine. Tyler's out. Just please, fix this. I'll need to see the payment and signed agreement first, I said. I'll wait. The wire transfer hit my account at 7:34 p.m. $20,000. The signed agreement arrived at 7:41 p.m. At 7:45 p.m., I remote accessed the system and fixed everything in 23 minutes. Because I knew exactly what was wrong. I'd built the system. I understood every dependency, every failure point, every workaround. The catastrophic failure that had paralyzed their entire engineering team? It was a timeout setting I'd adjusted 3 years ago. One line in a configuration file. By 8:08 p.m., all systems were online. Clients were happy. Crisis averted. And I had just made $20,000 in 23 minutes of work. The Boardroom Confession. The next morning, Brandon called an emergency board meeting. He invited me to attend. As a consultant, he said carefully, to explain what happened. I arrived at 10 a.m. sharp. The conference room was packed. 8 board members. Brandon, the CFO, the CTO. Tyler sat in the corner looking like he'd been hit by a truck. Brandon gestured to a seat at the table. Marcus, thank you for coming. Can you walk the board through what happened yesterday? I stood up, pulled out my laptop, connected to the projector. Happy to, I said. But first, let me show you something else. I pulled up my documentation folder. 11 years of receipts. Every email, every Slack message, every ignored warning, every stolen idea, every broken promise. This, I said, is the complete history of Neuralflow's technical infrastructure, built entirely by me, over 11 years, for an average salary of $103,000. I clicked to the next slide. This is Tyler's presentation to the board in March, the one about Neuralflow 2.0. Notice anything familiar? I pulled up my original research documents. Side by side, every slide, every diagram, every word, identical. Tyler went pale. Brandon looked like he was going to be sick. And this, I continued, is the email from 2 days ago where I was informed my salary was being cut by 67%. The same day Tyler was announced as VP of Technology Strategy with a salary of $285,000. The room was silent. You could hear the air conditioning hum. One of the board members, a woman named Dr. Patricia Chun, spoke first. Let me make sure I understand this correctly. Marcus built the entire platform. Tyler took credit. And then you cut Marcus's salary to hire Tyler. Brandon stammered. It's more complicated than. Actually, I interrupted. It's not. And there's one more thing you should know. I pulled up the client contract. Our largest client, responsible for $67 million annually, has a clause that requires me to be the technical lead. When Brandon cut my salary and changed my role, he violated that contract. The CFO's face went white. $67 million? They called me yesterday during the outage, I said. They're reviewing their options. I told them I'm available as an independent consultant. Dr. Chen looked at Brandon. Is this true? Brandon said nothing, just stared at the table. Tyler tried to speak. I didn't know about the contract clause. I was just trying to. You were trying to take credit for work you didn't do? Dr. Chen said coldly. Get out. Tyler left. The door clicked shut behind him. Dr. Chen turned to me. Marcus, what would it take to bring you back? As an employee, not a consultant. I smiled. I'm not interested in coming back. The contract they forgot. The board went into emergency session. I was asked to step out. I sat in the hallway for 2 hours, answering emails, fielding calls from recruiters who'd somehow already heard about the drama. At 1:47 p.m., Dr. Chen came out. Marcus, can we talk? We walked to a private office. She closed the door. The board has asked for Brandon's resignation, she said. Effective immediately. Tyler has been terminated, and we'd like to offer you the CTO position. I let that sink in for a moment. With what salary? I asked. $350,000 base, plus equity, plus a retention bonus of $500,000. I thought about it, really thought about it. Then I said, no. Dr. Chen looked surprised. May I ask why? Because I spent 11 years building something for someone else. Someone who valued me at $58,000. I'm done building empires for other people. What will you do? She asked. I have 3 offers from your competitors, all at CTO level, all with significant equity. And your biggest client wants to hire me directly as their head of AI. She nodded slowly. We deserve that. You do. I agreed. But I'll make you one offer. I'll consult for you. $500 per hour. I'll help transition everything properly. Train your new team. Make sure my clients are taken care of. 6 months max. Deal, she said immediately. We shook hands. And just like that, I went from a $58,000 maintenance worker to a $500 per hour consultant with multiple CTO offers. Where eagles land. That was 6 months ago. I fulfilled my consulting contract with Neuralflow, trained their new team, documented everything properly this time, helped them recover from the damage Tyler and Brandon had done. I billed 847 hours at $500 per hour. That's $423,500 for 6 months of part-time work. But that's not the best part. Remember Helen Park? The CTO of that $67 million client? She offered me the position of Chief AI Officer at her company. $425,000 base salary, 2% equity, full control of their technical direction. I took it. Brandon, he started a podcast about leadership lessons. Last I heard, he's working as a consultant, making about $58,000 a year. Tyler, he's back in school getting another MBA. His LinkedIn says he's exploring new opportunities. Neuralflow, still operating, still profitable, but they lost their biggest client, who followed me to my new company, and 3 others followed suit. Their annual revenue dropped from $200 million to $94 million in 6 months. Here's what I learned. Your value isn't determined by what someone pays you. It's determined by what happens when you leave. When they cut my salary by 67%, they thought they were saving money. What they actually did was reveal how little they understood about what I had built, about the relationships I had cultivated, about the expertise I had developed. They thought I was replaceable. Turns out, I was irreplaceable. And the beautiful irony? That 67% pay cut that was supposed to save them $117,000 a year, it cost them $106 million in revenue and their entire leadership team. Sometimes the best revenge isn't what you do to them. It's what you do for yourself. I'm Marcus Chun. I built a $200 million platform. They tried to pay me $58,000. Now I make more in a month than they paid me in a year. And every single day, I'm grateful they cut my salary, because it forced me to finally value myself the way I should have all along.